So
You
this is
know,
today.
one of the things I wanted to say is there's certain times, a periods where you have what they call breakthroughs. You have kind of like an epiphany where you
Yeah.
see something just amazing. And early in the game, after I had left KCTS public television, I started to work with first generation internet conferencing. And this was not even Zoom. This was like client server stuff. You would
Mm,
have to spend $60 a month to
right.
get a server, and then you'd have to get this software to install on your computer. Corporations would not let you do this at all. So it was a dead end. But what it did in the second week that I did that, I had an epiphany. I said, and Google Earth came out, so I could feel like I was flying across Google Earth.
Mm.
I said, I'm actually meeting inside a virtual architecture. Ooh. And I can get there just by logging on. It's like virtual transportation to architecture.
Well,
What's
let me give you an example. I mean, both Rick and
yes.
I are members of an organization called the Pass It On Network, PION. It was
Mm-hmm.
founded by a woman who is now in her 90s, who's a kind of serial social entrepreneur.
Jan Hively, let her
Ann
name
Hively,
be heard.
wonderful woman. And we meet several times a month. And the members are social, aging social activists all over the world. I mean, in a typical
Literally.
ION meeting, which is
Yep.
held on Zoom, there are people from the United States, from Canada, from Europe, from Asia, and from Africa. And it's the meetings last an hour, and I always, at the end of these meetings, come away amazed and inspired because we're
Yes.
talking about I mean, these people are really seriously involved with all kinds of creative projects that they talk about and share them. And I'm always just blown away with what's going on. And yet we have a lot of common bonds. I've made a lot of connections with people all over the world. And
Right.
this is free. It costs us nothing. And we're
Right.
able to do this on a monthly basis. I mean, one of the amazing things about these technologies, Zoom and YouTube, is there are no cost to us as consumers. I mean,
Right.
it's amazing. I mean, I remember when making a long distance telephone call was 20 cents a minute across the country.
That's right. That's right. We grew
And
up in.
a lot of people don't know this, but on YouTube is a television medium.
Hmm.
Okay. It's
Hmm.
television. And you actually have a channel. You can have several channels. My mind is completely blown because I came up when to have a channel, you had to have a whole lot of money. It was cost prohibitive for everybody else. The best thing you could do with public television was to be a critical viewer of content that somebody else produced. Okay. But now I have a vision of empowering
Yeah.
us to be critical doers of content. I mean,
Art,
we're walking around with cell phones, right, that have HD quality. Why not get retired professionals, you know filmmakers and all that to come together and say, hey, look, what do you deeply care about? This is what I care about. What do you care about? Well, let's then do this.
Yeah.
Let's transform the damn planet. Let's we
Right.
have people that doing front running work that need to be supported. We can have them on our show, like the good work that Richard Adler is doing, the good work that Rick Moody's doing. Okay, by bringing this together, and we're going to create a sea change. We can be the wave, the tide that rises all ships. I love that conversation. Okay.
That's your passion, Art. That's your passion.
and
Here's
part of
your
the
passion.
secret, I think part of the secret of retirement is so when we were doing SeniorNet years ago, we were setting up these little computer labs, but they were all run by volunteers who were seniors. So all the programs were run and the classes were taught by seniors. And I used to go around and I would meet with these people. And I remember once talking to a guy, he had worked his whole career for IBM, and then he had retired, and IBM was funding these centers. And this guy was wearing, when they were IBM guys, they had to wear white shirts and ties.
Yeah.
Well, that was the old days. Now,
Official,
now this
official.
guy was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. And I remember saying to him, I said, well, why? And he was passionate about this. He was deeply involved with this. I said, well, why are you doing it? And he kind of chuckled. And he said, Well, I'll tell you one thing, is I'm not doing this to add to my resume.
Yeah,
That's the
there you
advantage.
go.
He was doing it because he loved it. And he said, and you know what? If this gets to me too much trouble and boring, I'm going to quit.
So he was already retired and unretired at the same
Right.
time.
And
Right.
he was doing it purely because he loved it. You know, you were talking about those 3 Ps, Art. I have
Yes.
3 questions that I ask myself whenever
Okay.
I'm asked to get involved with a
Yeah.
project. And they are, first, is this going to be fun for me?
Yes.
Secondly, do I think I'm going to be able to add value to this project?
Yes.
And third, is there going to be a return on the investment to me? It's kind
Exactly.
of a version of
Good
those.
questions.
Very well.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we turn around to people watching us now, what kind of advice, based on what you know about your life and how what you have been called to do, what advice can you give people who are just discovering, oh my goodness, I thought retirement was like this, but there's a whole nother, I got to, you know, I have a whole nother third of my life, a whole nother third act of life. Okay. Well, what kind and loving advice can you give people who are having to navigate that? Because they're watching. Can you start?
I got an answer, but I won't give it now. I'm going to give it to you, Art, and you can put out to anybody who writes to you. Rick Moody's 10 recommended books. My own book is not on it, by the way, but Richard Leider's book is on it. Richard Leider, who's spoken about purpose and the importance of finding purpose. And here are some steps. I happen to know Richard Leider personally. He was hired by AARP to be their top guy for reimagining retirement, reimagining aging. We'll have, that's the first of the books, but we'll have 9 more. And I'm going to say to people, there's things out there on YouTube, on the internet, and in easy to read books, not academic books. I'll provide that.
I think that's a great a list. I'm building a list of, you know, with this online course I'm doing, I'm building a list of resources and actually reflective exercises, because it's not enough just to read it, but you have to practice. You have to say, you know, ask those questions and then write them down and then contemplate on them and then get help with realizing them. I think I've learned in my life is, you know, even though I look at things that seem like they're impossible, if I just show up
Showing up.
Show up and continue, you know, YouTube is really like this. What I'm really learning about YouTube, I didn't understand this before, is that's really a really interesting form of enlightened business development. Okay. It is not about trying to make money. It is about serving people well. Okay.
Yes.
So if you can speak to their needs, then they'll say, oh man, this is cool. I want to subscribe to this channel. I'm going to tell my friends about this. This is really different. This is going to be, you know, we're going to rock with this.
That's the key.
Okay?
You got it, Art. I agree with you completely.
And if we do this, you know, and we create this momentum of positive energy, you know, you talk about positive aging and, you know, how rough it could be. I don't think it could be that rough. Once you transform people's hearts and minds, and you do this by being good examples of human beings ourselves. This is lived experience. This is lived aging. This is lived change. You know, in all the things that, you know, have been a challenge in our life, we can flip them around and address them as opportunities.
That's what Gandhi said. Be the change you want to see.
We need to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me say something. Let's go back. Somebody mentioned ageism earlier.
Yes, I mentioned.
And I think the classic notion of people in later life after they've retired is, how can we help you? What do you need?
You're old.
We'll give you Social Security. We give you Medicare. You know, do you need a cane? Do you need a helping hand? And I think older people are often viewed as a bundle of needs.
A bundle of needs.
However, I think that we have an opportunity, as long as we're well and we have our marbles, you know, the question that I'm always asking is, how can I help?
Awesome. The conversation continues, so stay tuned for part 5.